Changing the front brake pads on a CBR500R. This is a 2017. Your first step is going to be getting this little pin that holds the brake pads out. It's a 5mm Allen key. Realized that it wasn't recording after I had already done most of this, so the first thing that you'll do is there's 2 bolts here. These are 12mm sockets. Just crack those. Take a 5mm Allen key and put into this and loosen it. Loosen it to the point that the thread that's past the threads there. So this is just a pin the rest of the way. Then remove these 2 bolts fully. You want to keep these in while you take this out, because otherwise this will rotate, make it a pain. So then you can wiggle the brake caliper out, free from the wheel. So there's that pin I was talking about. The pin holds these pads in place. I'll have to put the camera down to get that out. You may have to tap it out with a hammer and punch. So you don't have to knock this pin all the way out, just past the point of the pads. And once you get that pin moved, the pads are then free and you can just pull them out. And once you get the new one set in place, the first one fits up against, see that groove? It fits up against the pistons. This little spring clip is what holds tension on that pin. So you'll probably need to push these pistons back to get this to sit against the wheel. So since this is a pretty small caliper, you can push those back by hand. On the ABS models, you don't want to do that. You'll want to open the bleeder valve and allow the fluid to push out of this. Just shoving fluid back up into an ABS system is not great. Mine is non-ABS, so I don't have to worry about that. So you just push the pistons back, and you stick the pad in and put the pin through. Then you just do the same thing on the other side. So again, you don't have to put the pin all the way in. You just want the pads in there, and then you stick them over the rotor. You don't have to tighten these all the way up yet, but you want this hanging by these 2 bolts so that it doesn't move too much. I'm going to go ahead and just get one of them flush so that the caliper can't wiggle around like it's doing right now. So once that's flush, you can tap this pin in. Just lightly tap it until the threaded bit there kind of comes in contact. Then just put a slight amount of pressure, and you'll see that this will start threading in. You don't have to just get crazy with the torque on that, but you want it tight. And at that point, go ahead and tighten these down. The torque spec on these 2 12mm bolts is only 16 foot-pounds, which is not much. You can see that doesn't require a whole lot of force for that to be reached. There we go. So you might be tempted to just He-Man these on there since they're part of the brake system, but resist that urge. So if you have an ABS model, I don't know the bleeding procedure for that, but it's always a good idea after you change the pads and have to push on the caliper and just, general brake maintenance anyway, to go ahead and bleed the system afterwards. I'm not going to film that because it's pretty simple. You just pump the pump pressure up on the system, and then loosen that bleeder valve, just a half turn or whatever until fluid comes out. Repeat that a couple times until the brakes feel nice and firm. But yeah, so some pretty simple process. According to the service manual, you can change the brake pads without taking the caliper off, but if yours were worn like mine were, the new pads won't go back in there without pushing those calipers or the pistons up into the caliper, so you have to take this off anyway. So I would just take it off. It's easier in my opinion. But if you want to do it the way the service manual says, you're welcome to try it. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody out.